The story of Samuel is a timeless tale of divine intervention and a powerful reminder that God's call can come at any age. Imagine a young boy Samuel sleeping soundly in the temple of the Lord. He was just a child entrusted to the care of Eli the priest. The temple was a sacred place filled with the presence of God, and yet, the world was quiet, hushed in the stillness of the night. Little did Samuel know this ordinary night was about to become extraordinary. Samuel was dedicated to serving in the temple, a testament to his family's devotion. He performed his duties diligently, learning the ways of the Lord under Eli's guidance. He was a faithful servant, but he was still just a boy. He hadn't yet reached the age where he would be expected to hear directly from God. The thought probably never even crossed his mind. He was simply Samuel, a young boy living in the temple. The world was different then. Communication was not instant, and divine messages were rare and precious. Prophets were revered, their words carrying the weight of God's will. In this world of whispers and waiting, Samuel slept peacefully, unaware of the divine encounter that awaited him. He was a child in the house of God, surrounded by the sacred yet still so innocent and unaware. In the quiet of the night, a voice called out, "Samuel!" It was a gentle whisper, a soft call that pierced the silence of the temple. Samuel, startled awake, thought it was Eli calling him. He rose from his sleep and ran to the old priest, his heart pounding in his chest. "Here I am," he said. "You called me." But Eli sent him back to bed, saying he hadn't called. This scene repeated itself several times. Samuel, obedient and eager to please, kept running to Eli whenever he heard the voice. Each time Eli sent him back to bed, puzzled by the boy's insistence that he had been called. The mystery deepened with each repetition, the quiet temple holding a secret yet to be revealed. Finally, Eli realized that it was God who was calling Samuel. He instructed the young boy to respond, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." This simple phrase, filled with humility and reverence, marked a turning point in Samuel's life. It was the moment he recognized the divine origin of the voice that had been calling him. God then spoke to Samuel, revealing a message concerning Eli and his household. It was a serious message, a prophecy of judgment. Imagine the weight of such a message on the young shoulders of Samuel. He was just a boy, entrusted with a divine message of great importance. The responsibility must have felt immense. The story of Samuel's calling is recorded in 1 Samuel chapter 3 verses 1 to 4. These verses capture the tender interaction between God and a young boy, a testament to the fact that God's call is not limited by age or experience. Samuel's story is not just a historical account, it's a timeless message of hope and possibility. It reminds us that God can use anyone, regardless of their age or background, to accomplish his purposes. Samuel's life was forever changed by that night in the temple, and his story continues to inspire generations. The world needs people who are willing to listen to God's voice, just like Samuel. We live in a noisy world, filled with distractions and competing voices. It can be difficult to discern the quiet whisper of God amidst the clamor. Yet God is still speaking, just as he spoke to Samuel in the temple. Samuel's story challenges us to examine our own lives. Are we open to hearing God's call? Are we willing to set aside our own plans and follow his leading? These are important questions for people of all ages to consider. God is not limited by our age or our circumstances. The story of Samuel reminds us that God sees potential where others may see only limitations. He chooses the unlikely, the humble, the young, to accomplish his extraordinary purposes. This is a message of hope and empowerment for all who feel overlooked or insignificant. Section 4. Answering the call at any age. God's call is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing conversation. He speaks to us in different ways through different circumstances throughout our lives. Sometimes his call is clear and unmistakable, like the voice that called to Samuel in the temple. Other times it's a gentle nudge, a subtle prompting, a quiet whisper in our hearts. Whether we are young or old, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, God can use us. He desires to work through each of us to bring about his purposes in the world. The key is to be open to his call, to listen for his voice, and to respond with a willing heart. The world needs people who are willing to step out in faith, to take risks, to follow God's leading, even when it doesn't make sense. Samuel's story encourages us to be bold in our faith, to trust in God's plan, and to believe that he can use us in powerful ways. It's easy to think that we are too young or too old, too inexperienced or too unqualified to be used by God. But Samuel's story reminds us that God doesn't look at things the way we do. He sees our potential, our willingness, our hearts. Section 5. Listening for the whisper. In a world that often prioritizes outward appearances and accomplishments, Samuel's story is a powerful reminder that true greatness lies in humility and obedience. Samuel's willingness to listen and respond to God's call, even as a young boy, set him on a path of extraordinary service and leadership. As we reflect on Samuel's story, let us be encouraged to cultivate a listening heart. Let us create space in our busy lives to hear the still, small voice of God. Let us be open to His leading, even when it takes us outside of our comfort zones. The story of Samuel is an invitation. It's an invitation to listen, to respond, and to discover the incredible purpose that God has for each of our lives, regardless of our age or stage in life. May we all, like Samuel, be ready to answer the call, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Let us not limit God by our own perceptions or expectations. Let us be open to the possibility that He can use us in ways we never imagined. Let us be willing to say, like Samuel, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening."